What's up, mi gente? It's your homegirl Motuika. I'm back, full effect, long time no here. In this episode, I want to continue my love story with me and my husband. I posted a video back in May talking about how we fell in love, how we met. So I'll try to post it down here so you guys could catch up and it could all line up. Just a little recap. Me and my husband been together 26 years. We have two adult children now, and we're still happy. We're still in love. And I just want to make a note because people, when they look at your relationship, your marriage, anything, people want, what you have, and see things. But no one understands that everything that goes in a relationship, in a marriage, it's work. And everything in general, and any relationship you have with friends, family, co-workers, work, anything. But in a marriage, it's not all about how and why, and everybody does everything the same. Everybody has problems. There's nobody in this world. It don't matter if you've been together 2 months, a year, 20 years, 50 years, 80 years. Every relationship goes to arguments, disagreements about anything. Kids, money, job, food, anything. So we all have disagreements. We all know how to maneuver it. Now, in every relationship, you have your own rules, your own way of doing it, your own thinking and everything. So nobody's relationships can be the same. You can't have what the other person has. You can't want what the other person has because you don't know how long it's taken them to get there. You don't know how hard work, happiness, sadness, it's got to where they are. So you really don't know. So don't try to compare your relationship with anybody else's. Don't try to want. God puts people in your life for a reason at a time when it's the right time. So for me, that's what I think and feel. God put my husband in my path for a reason, because in all the relationships I had, my husband is the one that I fell in love with. My husband is the one that I felt safe with. I felt freedom. I felt everything. So I feel like he put him in my path for a reason. And now, me and my husband, in 26 years, our first 5 years were our hardest, were our struggles, were our fights, with everything was at in the beginning. After that, 21 years, now we've had disagreements, we have had arguments, we have agreed to disagree, and we've learned, we've grown. So, yeah, I mean, you mature, you get older. And as we get older as well, we tend to get a little different too. We change. Like for me, I've changed in the last 10, 15 years. I've changed the person I was 26 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, like that. My husband's changed in some way, but not a whole lot like I have. Now, and as we get older, we get on each other's nerves. That's part of life. You get on each other's nerves of what you say, what you do. Little thing, like for me, I get bothered more than my husband. Little shit bother me because you left the cup on the sink. That just fucked up my mental state. If I walk in the kitchen and he has his mess, that fucks up my mental state. But then I gotta sit back and talk to God and say, okay, I'm not gonna let this ruin 26 years. I'm not gonna let this, this little petty shit, I do have more of an anger and temper issue and attitude than my husband. So when I get mad, I tend to not want to talk to him for days or until he comes and I feel like he needs to apologize. And then sometimes I feel like he stays away because he knows that I'll just shut him down. So it just, things have worked for us in different times, different eras, in different years for us. I will say that, so what I love about our relationship is that we've grown together. We were kids that fell in love, that grew into mature adults. And we built our home and our family together. Now, it took us a while to get there. Just like everything in life, nothing is perfect. But we learned that compromise, trust, and communication works. Now, for me, trust is a big thing in my world, like of how I think. So that has been a challenging communication as well. But communication is good, but I sometimes have challenges with that. Now, my husband had a deal, was like his second dad for him. And I love being around him. He's my mother in law's little brother, and he lived and was, my husband was raised around him because him and his sister were very close. And I don't know if it was back in 2003 or 2004 where he gave us some advice. He passed away in 2017, sadly, and up to that point, him and his wife, my tia, were married for, I want to say 30 plus years or 35 plus years. I'm not too sure. But they had a really beautiful relationship as well, which everybody has their issues. But it was very nice what we witnessed. So he gave us advice, and he's the one that told us about communication. And without communication and trust, we were not going to go nowhere. So that's when we started, using that towards our relationship. Learning how to compromise in a good way without arguing. Learning how to communicate when we felt disrespected or we felt we didn't like something. And trust. Now, trust for me, like I've said, I'll probably get into that on a different thing. It's very hard for me on that word. But me and my husband have had fucking beautiful times, loving, beautiful, everything. Until now, we still have it. There's a lot of things that me and my husband have done different than I see in a lot of relationships or normal relationships. I try to feel like I don't like to live normal or like to live like the person next to me. I like to do a lot of things different in my life. Now, there is things we still do like the world does, but not everything. And when it came to our relationship, throughout the years, we have changed, we have adapted, we've had, communicated and talked about. But that's one thing that I do love about our relationship that I have seen, and it's like I said, you never compare anything to anybody else's stuff. But I have seen a lot of my family and my friends' relationships fail because they tend to do the typical normal thing or what everybody else does in a marriage. And we don't do that. Now, I have a different mindset of how me and my husband grew up and we matured and everything back in our time. But now, my advice to my kids is to communicate with whoever they're dating or whoever they want to be with. Talk about those challenging conversations. Have those conversations of life together, of what you want. Because, yes, me and my husband didn't do that. We learned throughout our time, but we're living in a different world in 2025, a different generations, where I think now these generations, my kids, the new ones that are coming in, should have those conversations with the person they're dating. Not just, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up, or what career, or this. No, the challengings, what you're going to do when this, that, the third, how you live. And another thing I would like to say is that I don't understand when people get engaged, that this is off topic, but they don't let their engagement last. Now, me and my husband were engaged, I think 4 years before we even got married, like legally married. Now, I see people get engaged today and tomorrow they're already getting married. And then the next day they're already divorcing. Why? Because they didn't take the time to get engaged, live together, understand each other's mañas. When I mean mañas, it means how people live. How does she or him or she or he live? How do they sleep? How do they clean? How do they eat? How do this? How do that? That way you can compromise before you get married. Because a lot of people get divorced or separate fast because they're getting engaged today and they don't enjoy their engagement. They're already planning the wedding. Like, no, take your time, enjoy the engagement. That means you get to know. The engagement for me, it should be you're getting to know one another. Now, if you've been together 10, 15 years and you're barely getting engaged, you already fucking know each other like a fucking book, right? Now, by tomorrow, you could get married. I'm not talking about in that situation. I'm talking about that you don't live together, you get engaged, and then tomorrow you're already planning the wedding and getting married. No. Learn how to enjoy that engagement of learning finances with each other, what you're going to bring to the table, what's going to happen when you don't got, the light bill is due, the rent is due, this, that, the third. Family. How is your family going to be involved? How are you guys going to maneuver how you raise your kids, how you live in your home, what rules, what everything that goes along with that. Because that's why that's my advice, that I see that a lot. Even though me and my husband didn't do that, yes, we learn from our mistakes, and people say, oh, well, that's why you learn, it's learning experience. No, not in 2025. 2025, you got everything handed to you. So you need to learn how to talk, and you need to know how to set shit from the start. I tell my kids, and I always send my kids quotes of how, when they're in a relationship, that yes, right now they're with mom and dad, but I know dad knows that when that time happens, they gotta form their own family with their spouse. They gotta form their own way of the way they live. And so that's a big thing. That's my advice that I give to you. I know this was off topic, but whatever. So yeah, that's why I love him so much, because we're one of a kind. We're Bonnie and Clyde. My husband's the only true person in this world that knows me 113%. My kids as well, but I think my husband knows me more. And me, the same way with him. We're the opposites on a lot of things, and I think that's what makes us work. In the beginning, we were both lovable and didn't want to keep our hands off of each other, and now I'm a little different. I'm not as lovable, and I tell it like it is. Like my husband, he's very lovable, he's very kind. He can be mean and he can be an ass, and he's a gangster. It still comes out, but all the kids like him more because, he's all nice and kind, and I'm the mean one. And because I tell it like it is, I don't sugarcoat anything. And so, but like I said, there's, how can I explain this? Like, our relationship is just one of a kind. Now, as long as there has been good times, there has been bad times. I will say, thank God, what we went through, it's not as big as what other people have been through, what I see my mom go through, what I see my aunts and uncles or friends or whoever. But like my daughter explained, it doesn't matter how big or small your situation is, it's big and it's a lot, And I will say that between me and my husband, as of right now, thank God, and I'm blessed that we don't have, I don't know what you can say that, we've been faithful for each other, with each other, for 26 years. We haven't had those issues, and thank God. And that shit better not fucking happen. Now, I am jealous in this part. There's two jealousies in the world. Jealous comes in two forms. It's people that are jealous of everything that people have, and I'm not that. Kudos to whoever has what and what you look like, you're pretty, you're whatever. My jealousy comes when it comes to my man. Now, even though we've been together 26 years and we're fucking getting old, it doesn't matter. I am fucking very, what do you call it? Jealous, territorial. Like, yes. I would fucking knock a bitch out. I would fucking pull a handle if I have to. So that has been my issue about trust. Now, like I told my husband, it's not that I don't trust him. I don't trust the world. I don't trust these other humans. I don't trust anything. So if anything looks suspicious, if anything looks wrong, if somebody's talking in a different way and he and ha ha ha, best know that I'm gonna fucking be like, what the fuck? It's so funny. You know what I mean? So when things are posted on social media or whatever, like I fucking, and yes, I do get mad at my husband, even though it's not his fault. But like I tell him, you're too nice and too kind sometimes. Sometimes you gotta bring it down. Sometimes you gotta pull away. Because if you give these hoes attention, these people attention, when it comes to our family, our friends, whoever, they take it another fucking step. And that's what a lot of fucking girls want, is attention. And that's different from me. I am not those girls that need a man's attention. I don't need a shoulder to cry on. I don't fucking need a man to pay attention to me. None of that shit. So, but most girls and almost all girls in this fucking world, that's what they like. That somebody that to listen to them, to listen to their sorrows, shoulder to cry on. And no, get the fuck out of here with that shit. You know what I mean? So sometimes I have to tell my husband, you know what? You need to step back a little. You know, it's not fun and games no more. It's all not little kid shit no more. You really got to step back because they're taking it to another level. And that's another thing that why I never bring my friend homegirls around like that as much. And I stood away from a lot of people for that same reason, because I seen it happen in other households. I already went through this on the other episode, but anyways, I don't even know where the fuck I'm going, but that's something that I still like the same way. And this is what I give advice to people. A relationship, you got to work on it every day. It don't matter if you've been together 2 months, 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, 100 years. You need to put in that work. You need to work on it. It's not like, okay, I'm comfortable. I don't got to do shit no more. I got him. I got hurt. No. You still need to keep that candle lit. You still need to keep that spice up. You still need to do all that. And thank God right now, what me and my husband went through communication and everything, we have learned how to keep that spice up, keep that light on, keep that energy going. You need that. And once you let that go, the relationship fails. Once you disrespect each other, that's another thing. When we're mad, we say shit. And I have my share of what, when I'm pissed off, I will say all kinds of shit. And so, you don't mean it, but when you're mad, it comes out, right? In a hurtful way, in an evil way, whatever. You talk shit about each other. You talk shit about each other's friends, families, whatever. But you have to learn how to respect each other. And we have witnessed other couples that are still together, that have been together 30 years. But yet, they disrespect each other. There's no love there. It's just convenient. It's just used to. It's just that. And that's something that I hope and not want for my relationship. I do not want us to be comfortable with each other. That it's just a costumbre. It's just a habit. It's just a way of life. Easy. I don't want that. And I'm happy that we don't have that. But that's why you got to keep working on it. You have to keep communication, even if they think it's nagging and talking shit, because sometimes my communication will come off as nagging and talking my shit. But sometimes you got to be aggressive. Sometimes you got to talk shit for it to get through people's head, at least like for us. But, and I got a lot of work to do on myself too. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes every day as a wife. I make mistakes as a mom, as everything in general. but you need to work on it. And this is something that I tell people because they always say, oh, I want what they have. Why can't I have like everybody else has? I see everybody in a relationship and I'm not. No, it doesn't come easy. It comes with stress, headaches, love. Love is actually what true love is when you go through shit with each other. When you can fucking cry. When you fucking going through pain that you don't want to leave each other. That the other person's going to leave you. That the other not only that, what you put your kids through. And so, like I said, thank God we haven't went through a lot of stuff that other people have went through. And I hope we never do. But best believe I'm ready. I'm always 2 steps ahead all the time. So don't think you could bring that fucking bad juju over here. But anyways, yes, it's just about communication. And yes, trust is there. But my trust is in a different way with my husband. So yeah, before I get into that, I just want to finish up this conversation. Is that yeah, you just gotta be honest with each other. No lies. Be straight up from the beginning. That's something that me and my husband have. It doesn't matter how hurtful it will be, how bad it will be. You need to be honest. You need to be truthful. No fucking lies. Be straight up. No secrets. No hiding shit. That's another thing. We don't hide shit. We know each other's passwords. We know each other's phones. We could get each other's phones at any time, because that also has become an issue in relationships when phones started coming out because of that shit. Yeah, there was things before, emails and all other shit that used to be there before. But no, I feel like ever since phones and social media has came out, that has been a very bad issue in a lot of relationships. Like for me, I still bitch and complain about social media. There's certain things that I don't like, and there's certain things that I feel like men and women do that they shouldn't be doing on social media or that. And I do know a lot of people don't have social media for that same reason, because it causes issues in their relationship. But if, like I told my husband, it's not that you need to have the communication. You can have these things and do these things, us, me, you, the world, but there needs to be trust. There needs to be truthful. There needs to be straight up. There needs to be boundaries. That is a fucking another word. Boundaries. Respect. And when you have that, it could be okay. And even though when you have that, there is still things, because I struggle with that. And right now, I'm not trying to put the finger just on me on everything. I'm just pointing out the flaws that I have. Now, when my husband, if I invite him here to talk about stuff, he'll probably talk about his issues. But right now, I'm talking about my flaws of what I've learned in my relationship, what I have overcome, what I'm learning. Because you never stop learning either. You know, I'm 42 years old and I'm still learning. I'm still evolving. I'm still changing. I change just like the seasons. And that's something too. Sometimes I feel bad that I tell my husband, like, you know, do you still love me? For the person I am today, I'm not that same girl. I'm not that same woman that, you know, I've changed. Like, and there's a lot of things that has changed me, that's made me margada, that has made me meaner, has made me think, and I see it in my own self, but it doesn't bother me. But when I look at my kids and my husband, sometimes I'm like, damn, am I taking it too far? Or would they still love me the way I am now? Are they going to still love me in the changes that I'm making, the boundaries that I'm putting for myself? Because I do a lot of things for my own peace of mind now. I don't do it for everybody else anymore. And that's something that I'm working on myself, is that I'm learning to love myself and respect myself, that I'm not going to tolerate shit anymore when it comes to any relationship in my life. And that's the same thing with, you know, I'm more vulnerable when it comes to my husband and my kids. I tolerate a lot of more shit because I feel like they're my world. They're me. My kids are part of me. and my husband is half of my heart. So it's like there's a difference from my family from my home family. You get me? Like, and so, sometimes I doubt myself on, does my husband still love me for who I am? The changes I go through, not just in mentally, but physically. And, the older I'm getting, and that's something that I love about my husband, that, it's not that you're saying, oh, she's putting too much flowers on her husband. But yes, I think he deserves flowers. I feel like he deserves his flowers because he treats me with love and respect. He makes me feel happy. He makes me feel wanted. He makes me feel sexy. He makes me feel loved. And that's why I love him so much, because he doesn't care what I look like. He doesn't care what I look like physically, what my body looks like when I struggle with my body, when I'm losing and gaining weight. And, he loves me in all my parts. He embraces it. And, sometimes it makes me feel uncomfortable. But that's why I love the relationship we have. I wouldn't ask for anything else, because even when I doubt myself, he's my safe place to go to. And sometimes I second think what I want to do, and I have to ask my kids and my husband. It's not that I'm asking for their approval or for their thoughts. Sometimes I need that. Sometimes I need my husband's hug to feel quiet. For all the shit in my head, the noise that's in my head, I need his hug. I need his warmth. I need his love. I need his kiss. I just need him talking shit and messing around with me and whatnot to make me feel safe, to make me feel loved. And I think it goes the same way with him. There's days when I see him down, and there I go, messing with him and showing him love and, hugging him and saying, come on, get out that funk and get up. Let's go do this, go do that, go do this. And, or sometimes his mental state, he's going through shit with, shit that happens in life. And I'm there to talk to him, so we work hand in hand. And that's what makes our relationship what it fucking is. Our relationship, our beautiful family, and our kids see it too. And I'm happy too that all our problems that we had in the beginning were that my kids didn't see. My kids didn't hear. Now, when we had our issues that were really bad, my daughter was already born, and she was already 2, 3. She was about almost 4. She was 3.5 when we got our shit together. And she doesn't remember that. I remember that. I remember her crying for her dad. I remember her crying, seeing us argue. But thank God she doesn't remember that. And then when my son was born, we got our shit together. And they haven't seen that side of us anymore, or didn't see that side, or don't have that memory, which is a blessing. Now, they've seen us argue, they've seen us disagreement, they see us getting mad, and now that they're young adults themselves, they actually are like not the referees, what are the peacemakers sometimes, because I have my temper issues where I will shut everybody out for days, and my husband won't even know what he did, and I won't talk to him for days. And there goes my kids trying to be the peacemaker, or they gotta scold us. Sometimes they're like, "Ay, niños," because sometimes it feels like they gotta scold us. And it's just funny now, because now we share that with our kids and stuff, but they're still happy and loving that our family is unida and it's together. That's something that my kids had an issue back when they were in school times, because, I grew up from me and my siblings and our families, we grew up in broken homes. Not just my siblings, my cousins, a lot of us grew up, and a lot of our homies grew up in broken homes. If their father and mom weren't there, or the dad was in and out, or the mom in and out, or the parents together, but all they're doing is fighting and throwing shit, or they're on drugs together, whatnot, or they're in jail, whatever. And, we grew up like that. My mom was a single mom, how to raise us all on her own. And even when my dad T was there, it still felt like my mom, it felt like my mom was a single mom. And when she became one, it was like, it was nothing new to her because she already knew how to do it, she already had that strength to do it. And for my kids, they're blessed to have mom and dad, and mom and dad taking them to school, mom and dad doing things with them at school, and dad picking them up, and we going to things together, going to their school events and whatnot. And a lot of times their friends had things in common, and my kids, they had where their parents weren't together, and my kids couldn't relate to them because 4 or 5 of them are talking about how their parents are not together. And yet my kids didn't have that. Like, they couldn't relate and have that in common with their friends because they had their parents together and they had a good, healthy home, And so I am blessed to have that. And it doesn't matter what, me and my husband went through what we went through, but we were meant to be together. We were meant to go through that storm. We were meant to get, pull through it and stay together and, build our family together. And even though every day is not guaranteed, but I'm just happy for what we have. And if you have what you have, be happy, be blessed. Thank God that you have what you have. And it doesn't have to look like everybody else. And that's something that I love, that our relationship doesn't look like everybody else's. I can't talk on a lot of people's relationships, but what I can say is that I like to be different. Me and my husband set boundaries from the beginning. When me and him first got together, we had shits from exes, right? We burned that shit. We went to my spot, got all the pictures, got all the shit, whatever you have from your exes, and burned that shit. And then we went to his spot, got all the shit he had, and we burned that shit. And that was our that was kind of like our commitment to each other. We got rid of everything at the 3 months, 3 months being together. We got all that shit and burned it. We literally had a little bonfire and burning all that shit. Because we felt like we were meant to be with each other. I don't believe in men and women that are in a relationship. This is my opinion, okay? My opinion. That I don't believe in when you're in a relationship that men and women should have male or female friends. And what I mean with that is that if you're in a I'm not going to say you. I'm going to say me and my husband. For me, I cannot tolerate, and this is something that's part of what we have in our relationship, is that me as a female, I shouldn't have male friends. And my husband, being a male, shouldn't have female friends. I don't believe in that. That's something that I will not tolerate. There is no reason for me to be on the phone or calling or texting and he ha 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 with somebody else that's not my husband, another male. The same thing goes for him. He shouldn't be on the phone texting or calling or doing other stuff with other females and he ha ha. Nah, get the fuck out of here with that shit. That shit don't go. He can't have female friends. I can't have male friends. That's how I feel like this has to be in our relationship. And the reason is because now I never bring, not even my homegirls around, the male friends I had. My husband, I had to put a stop to a lot of things because he did have female friends. But from where I come from, it's kind of different from where my husband comes from, because where I come from, nobody can be friends. No female, no male can be a friend, because, most guys, no, all guys, and most girls are fucking dogs in heat. They don't know how to separate that feeling. You know what I mean? So there's no way. Now, if you or whoever has a best friend that's a female or a male, and you're saying, same, whatever, kudos to you. But that shit don't roll with me. Now, we can have friends that are cordial or coexisting, that we know people or people's husbands and wives. We can be cool with that. But there has to be a respect and a boundary as well. You know what I mean? Like my husband's homeboys, for an example. I'm cool with them. I see them as family. That's as far as that will go. Because I know how to respect myself, and I know how to respect my husband, and I know how to respect them. Not just them, but their parejas. You know what I mean? My husband has a homeboy. One of his best homeboys is our compadre. And he was always around. He's family to us. You know what I mean? Not once did I ever call him to see where my husband's at. Not once did I ever page him or call him or any of that. Now that we have social media, of course, we have each other's friends and family on social media. That's a different thing. But even with that, you need to know how to respect. There shouldn't be no fucking messaging going back and forth or anything. I'm a person, at least for me, I know how to respect. You know what I mean? I know how to respect. But a lot of people don't. But what I'm saying is that I have respect my husband's homeboys. I have respect my husband's family members. I have respected. And the same goes with them. They have respected me. I don't have nothing bad to say about nobody, because if you show you have respect, they'll show it back. You know what I mean? But the thing is, and even in my family, my husband hasn't had that issue either, anything. But what I'm saying is, there's no reason for me to have my husband's friends' numbers and addresses and all that shit. The same thing. He shouldn't have my homegirls' phone numbers or address and all that. You know? A lot of my homegirls are cool with him too, because we all kick it together. But there's a respect and a boundary. And my husband knows how to have respect as well, for himself, for me, and for the people around. And that's one thing I do love about us, because that's one thing that I never had to worry about, and hopefully never. And that shit better not happen, is that we both know how to respect. But I don't believe that he shouldn't be on the phone with other girls. I shouldn't be on the phone with other guys. That's just how it goes. I'm not going to lie and say, when we first got together, he had homegirls. And to me, I don't believe they were homegirls, but of course to them, because, I had homeboys, but I was never touchy feelings with them. I was never hee hee ha ha. Now, yeah, you joke around, you're fucking with everybody kicking back and drinking and shit. But we were all touching and feeling when you were with somebody, not with your homeboys. And the same thing goes with your homegirls. So that's why I don't believe that a lot of these wannabe homegirls of my husband's were just homegirls, because they're talking about writing letters, hee hee ha ha, touching, feeling, tickling, and all that. Say, get the fuck out of here. That shit ain't fucking homegirls. But I had to really put my foot down with that and say no. Because that's something that my husband I would have to always tell him, and that he needed to understand about me, is that I don't play that shit. Now, they have homegirls that are from their neighborhood and shit, and I always have to remind my husband, that ain't your fucking homegirls. You know what I mean? One thing, you're cordial, that you know their husband and you know their brother or fucking cousins or whatever, but they ain't your homegirls. You know what I mean? For an example, I want to sit here and say that my husband has never came across none of my homeboys like that or my exes like that. Now, I've talked to him about my exes and we had our issues with, but I have had encounters with my husband's exes and with some of his homegirls. Like, for an example, one day he was at work. My daughter was months old. Our daughter was like months old. And our room was upstairs. My mother-in-law was downstairs. And some fucking girl comes to our house that she wanted to come and see my husband's daughter. Not to come and meet his wife or see his wife, but to meet his daughter. And I come downstairs and I'm like, what the fuck? And I had to tell the girl, get the fuck out of here. And my mother-in-law was just like, you know, she didn't know what to do. But at the same time, she's like, oh, she's like friend, family. I don't give a fuck. I live here now. And I'm not going to tolerate that shit. And funny is that when that girl left, my brother-in-law comes because my mother-in-law used to make him lunch on his lunch break because he worked down the street. And he came for lunch and my mother-in-law was telling him and he was laughing. And he goes, why do you get mad for? And I told him, look, how would you like it? Or how would you guys like it if a homeboy came knocking at my door right now and your brother's not home and he says that he wants to come and see me and my new baby? You guys wouldn't have let him in, right? You guys would have been like, get the fuck out of here. It's the same shit. There has to be boundaries and respect. And ever since that day, my brother-in-law, well, to me now he's my brother, respected me, respected the things. And he's like, yeah, you know what? You're right. That shouldn't be a thing, you know? And that was the only time like that. But the other ones were encounters with my husband's exes. You know, some family members invited another family member and they bring their family member knowing that he was going to be there and knowing that was his ex, knowing I was going to be there. And I had to put a stop to that too. Well, technically I didn't even stop that, but they cleared it up that they didn't do it on purpose. The other people did it on purpose. And to this day, there's still an ex there that when we're around other family members, it's related to the other side of the family members that is always going to be around. But, and to this day, me and my husband still have issues because of that. I always have to remind my husband all the time because, sometimes maybe he don't see it as a big thing. Sometimes he may think it's not a big deal. Or he just doesn't, he's like, who cares? I'm with you. But that doesn't matter. Sometimes I have to remind him that you need to respect me and you need to not say anything. You know what I mean? But anyways, I don't even know where I'm getting at. But what I wanted to say is that I don't believe in that in the relationships. Like we have friends and their husbands and their wives. That is all cool. But there's also a limit there too. You know what I'm saying? Like I was explaining. You know, if I see, it's for an example, if I would be talking to my homegirl's husband just because we know each other, like that shit don't go. You know what I mean? The same thing on my husband's side. The same thing don't go. So anyways, that's me. That's why I love myself, because I'm unique. And that's why I love our relationship, because it's different from everybody else's. I also don't believe in, for an example, girls' night. See, I'm a different type of woman. I don't need a lot of shit like a lot of women need in this world. Girls' night, girls' trip, girls this, girls that. Nah, get the fuck out of here with that. I don't need that shit. I'm me, myself, and I. I don't believe in, you know, it's cool to go kick it with your girls, go kick it with your boys for a little bit. Certain people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have a problem with my husband kicking it with certain homeboys that are family. Like family. You know what I mean? But when I know he's going to kick it with some no good homeboys, that's when I have a fucking problem. You know what I mean? But, that's something I'm not going to talk about. Like I said, we can't compare to our relationship with other people's, but I did see that a lot in my friends and my family. and people around me that when you do that and you have a lot of parties in your home, a lot of kickbacks, a lot of girls at your house, or a lot of your boys at your house, at the end of the day, that's going to cause problems in your relationship, because you either get too high, you get too drunk, and what happens? You start yapping, you start touching, then you start sleeping around. I've seen it happen. I've seen people say, oh, I'll meet you at the game. We're going to go to the Laker game. I'll meet you at the game. I'm going to go with my girls. You go with your boys. But it all ends up no good. And I'm talking because I seen it with my own eyes. I knew what one was doing and I knew what the other one was doing. I used to be so close to people in my life that I used to be the cajueta on both sides. I knew what one was doing, and as long as I was getting something out of it, I didn't snitch. The same thing, I knew what the other side was doing. As long as I got some food, I got some weed, I got some beer, I didn't give a shit. I didn't throw rat. But I seen that all with and it's not right either. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying what I was doing either is right. But what I'm saying is I seen a lot of that in people's relationships. And that's why I'm so protected on my relationships. Also, I have done a lot of things wrong before I met my husband, being with people that were in relationships, that I always feel like karma's a bitch and karma could come around. So I always, I'm always 2 steps ahead. And I always know people's attentions. I have had a handful, not even a handful, less than a handful of homegirls at my house. And I know I could trust them. And best believe if I seen something weird, I would separate myself from them or them from my house. But for the most part, I'm glad that, the people that I've had around me knew how to respect and loved us like family. And the same thing on my husband's side. Anybody he bring around knew how to respect, knew how to love. I have family. I have my husband's family and friends that are like family to me, So it's like, because you know how to respect. It's the same thing when I was working. I worked with males and I knew how to respect. I knew where the boundary crosses. I knew not to llevarme, not to get too personal, too intimate, to things. I knew that. When I worked with females and males, but I knew how to respect myself, respect my husband, respect my work environment, the people. My husband got, one of the guys that I was working with turned out to be one of my husband's homeboys. And he used to do tattoos on my husband. And he used to tell my husband, like, damn, like some of the girls there, like, you don't got to worry about your wife. She's respectful, She's very respectful. But there's other girls in there that they don't give a shit that they're married or not. They flirt. They se llevan con los hombres, And he goes, but your wife, she's something different. She goes there and works, She ain't going there for anything else, And that actually made me feel good because I know who I am. Anyways, and I think that's why me and my husband work out so good, because he works from home. If he worked at a job with other females, I don't know how I would handle that. That'd probably be another subject for another day, another story. But anyways, I'm going to end this now. Have a female weekend, raza. Much love. Take care.